the micro team is the unit that you grow. So if you have 6 micro teams of 2 people, you grow to 12, but you now you have 12 teams of 2 people, and they're interchangeable, rather than having here's a silo of designers, and there's a design manager, and then you have a silo of UX people, and there's a manager for UX, and then there's a manager for those 2, and then you create this hierarchy, which means communication is slow, and but that's kind of it, really. Communication is slow. I'm Espen. I run a small agency in Scotland. We do digital production, mainly websites, apps, UX, UI, a whole host of things, mainly for other agencies. So our niche is to help larger agencies and medium-sized agencies that do things related to communication and marketing, but they lack that little digital production bit. So we slot in and fill the gaps in their knowledge. Before I started this, I was working for an agency in Oslo, back in Norway. And I was trying to raise the digital competency of the design department there. And when I left, for whatever reason, they were still lacking some expertise in that area. They relied on a lot of external agencies to deliver anything digital. So I sort of continued working with them in that way. So I became someone they could rely on in terms of delivering on digital, be that UI or UX or design related things. And it sort of grew from there. I realized that a lot of agencies do have clients that ask for digital things without that being their specialty. So you might be a brand agency, you do a brand exercise or identity or whatever it might be. Sooner or later, someone's going to ask you to put this campaign online or express this brand on a website or whatever, rather than then having to go through a very cumbersome process and working with a large development agency or training your own staff or hiring digital people. We just plug in and we become a digital department for the duration of whatever project or for long as people need us. So yeah, that's what we do. If you think of creative agencies, I think the best example of creative work is often seen in ad campaigns, where there's a really strong idea or really strong concept that creates, emotional reactions that are remembered well. And it's the sort of idea that someone just sits around and comes up with with a concept, with something that is funny or challenging or surprising or whatever. And then this person works with someone who's good at writing, and they express this mini story that hits people. And so you communicate what you want to say, but at a more emotional level. On the web, it feels like few people do that well, because we spend so much time building the platform. There's a lot of budget and resource goes into making the actual website, like putting it together. And then you have, design systems, and there's a lot of work that just goes into to producing a blank slate. And then we kind of call it quits, and then we're done. And content gets filled in. Design systems are amazing, but part of the reason they exist is so that we can design for things that haven't been created yet. So, you want to have a platform where your marketing team can keep creating content and create landing pages and evolve the website based on these modules that you have. And I'm not knocking that at all. We deliver that all the time. But the value of the website, it depends then on the marketing team writing good copy and hiring good photographers or illustrators, or do you know what I mean? Like actually communicating their thing well. Rather, who cares if the website is accessible technically if the text is awful? Do you know what I mean? So I think that we fall flat there a lot. I think where we forget that it's the impact of your visual, whatever it might be, that your images, your videos, your illustrations, and the power of your words. Yeah, essentially. And I think that's where the most valuable innovation happens on the web, as opposed to fancy, I don't know, carousels or yeah. I mean, by all means, animation is good and stuff, but you don't convert people by hijacking the scrolling because it looks cool. You convert them because there's a message there, and if you don't have the message, the other stuff doesn't matter. And if you have a really, really good message, maybe you don't need any other fancy things on top of it. For me, the biggest challenge is how do I take the value that I was able to deliver as a single freelancer or a one man agency. How do I scale that value? How do I retain that value when it's not me doing the job but someone else? Because I think my business just it grew out of freelance work, and I needed to take on collaborators and subcontractors to help with the workload. Therefore, it made sense to create an agency, and it sort of give me agency to, like you said, you say we and not hide the fact that I'm using subcontractors, and lean into it and say this is the model. I'm the coordinator and organizer, and then I help put together teams of subcontractors or collaborators that can help execute. But the first immediate challenge was, as soon as the workload got to a certain level, I became the only single point of contact for all these clients. A lot of them are in Norway, so there was an extra sort of language barrier there, that I was the only one of our team that spoke Norwegian. But even without that, being this single point of contact gets really stressful really, really quickly, because you get a lot of requests and you have to do the communication both ways. So that was one challenge, and I think the short answer to that challenge is just to create an environment where your team speak directly with whomever they're working with, because clearly, when I was a freelancer, the immediacy of working with a trusted freelancer is extremely valuable. You send a message, or you call, or you drop an email, someone can respond quickly. They get the thing that you're talking about, because it's only been you and this other person, so there's an intimate relationship. So there's no need for extra layers of Chinese whispers to figure out what the person is trying to say. So this immediacy is in danger as soon as you become the middle person, or there's other people as layers of communication, account managers or project managers or whatnot. So I think there's potentially a solution there, and essentially transferring this direct client relationship to whomever is in charge of the project, so the designer working on it, or the illustrator working on it, removing the layers of communication. The other challenge, which is the future challenge, I think, is as you grow beyond a small number of people, at some point very quickly you will need some way of managing the organization. So that could be office managers, or I guess remote digital office managers, or it could be traffic managers that handle workflow and who works on what. It could be project managers, or client managers, or relationship managers. At a certain point, you need people whose job is more to do with organization than production. And the danger of agencies is that when you become so big that your pyramid is like half or more is just organization, your prices have to go up, and your processes are longer, exponentially longer, just by a natural result or artifact of the nature of being bigger. So that's a challenge that I'm grappling with now, and trying to figure out how do you keep intimate relationships at scale. And I don't really know the answer to that, because I haven't been able to, I haven't scaled yet. But what I'm thinking about is rather than building a design department over here a dev department over here, a UX department here, and a creative department here, wherever you separate your agency based on the discipline. So you have these like silos of talent. I wonder if it's better to build I guess a flatter structure without silos, but if you're scaling, think teams rather than silos. So on average, maybe you need a designer and a content person, or an illustrator and a designer, or a developer and a designer. We rarely go beyond 2 or 3 people on any project, because we don't really need to these days. So if there was a flat pool of talent, and you knew that you had these pairs or trios of talent that you can combine in different configurations, then the micro team is the unit that you grow. So if you have 6 micro teams of 2 people, you grow to 12, but now you have 12 teams of 2 people, and they're interchangeable, rather than having here's a silo of designers, and there's a design manager, and then you have a silo of UX people, and there's a manager for UX, and then there's a manager for those 2, and then you create this hierarchy, which means communication is slow, and but that's kind of it, really. This communication is slow, and people are separated. So yeah, I don't know. Talk to me in a couple of years when I've actually grown bigger. But that's my biggest fear. Is like, is it even possible to scale without the what seems like such a redundant cost of management, and a great sacrifice of immediate communication? If you're going to have a model where communication between staff members is crucial, and a model where communication between your production staff and clients is crucial, you got to hire for soft skills and culture, and that it's not super difficult to learn how to use Figma, or even to learn how to get a good understanding of typography, or I don't know, even creativity can be taught. But I guess friendliness and attitude and basic communication and people skills, it's harder to teach, because it's more complex, and it's also something that everyone carries with them from a young age. So to tell someone that that's where they need to focus, it's a hard bridge to cross, I think. So I'm a big believer in working with the people that you like working with, more than people with a particular set of technical skills, if that makes sense. You need to find the right people. You need to have enough of them when you need them, and not too many when you don't need. It's building the team is challenging in its own right. And then it directly related is clients. You need to build your clients, and it's a bit of chicken and egg. What comes first? Do you hire someone so that you can take on more clients, or you take on more clients so you can afford to hire someone? That's challenging just in its own right. Figuring out who you are and what you're selling, and how to talk about those things, and how to position yourself within the market. I think everybody who's worked in the creative industry, or everybody who's been involved in branding in some capacity, will be aware that you have to have some sort of unique position or selling point. You have to have if not a niche, at least you have to have a focused target audience, and deliver a product or service to that audience. If you try and deliver everything to everyone, it's going to be impossible to stand out and be remembered, or be approached for anything in particular. And to me personally, this has always been a challenge, because what I do is so broad, and what I want the value that I bring to clients is really broad, because I want to be able to say, yeah, sure, we can help you wrestle this decade-old CMS into submission, so we can put the landing page out on it. I also want to be able to say, of course, we'll help you with the UX for the MVP of your new product, or I'll help you find some really talented development partner for your massive software project, whatever it might be. I feel like the value, if I want to be a external digital department to any agency of a certain size, the value is in being able to help with a broad range of projects. How do I then define a niche, or how do I make my product small or singular? That I find very, very, very difficult. And I think most businesses struggle with this. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, we do websites, or we do brands, but our unique angle is that we are really creative, or we really focus on quality, or we deliver it quickly or slightly cheaper or whatever." It's so easy to fall into this trap of thinking I'm just better than the rest, and that's my unique selling point. But that's not unique at all. Like, that's literally what everyone is trying to do, is just be a little bit better. And so, I mean, yes, you can have a studio that is 100% focused on accessibility, but like the baseline accessibility, everybody wants. If you're in branding, everybody wants creativity. Everybody wants your brand to be unique. Everybody wants a baseline level of quality. So to say we're just really good at it, it's not enough. Even to say, oh, we do websites, but we really focus on content. It's getting somewhere, but it's also not enough, I think, because that should be a given, So I find that hard, but I feel like with this agency now, maybe for the first time in my career, I can say that I feel like I'm able to focus. This idea of working with other agencies in this capacity, I think that I can say that I know what problem I'm solving for whom. Because I've been on the other side. I've been in agencies where there's lack of talent, or you get so stressed working with some big external partner, and it costs tens of thousands of pounds, and it takes forever, and it's still not good quality. And you just know that if we had 3 people in house, this would be done, and we would make a profit rather than take a loss. So being that in-house team but externally solves that problem. It takes away so much stress. It takes away the uncertainty. It takes away a financial burden because we can deliver faster. So yeah, being able to say, I have someone in mind, I know what problem they have, and I have the solution to that specific problem. It gives me confidence that I'm on the right track in terms of defining a position for the agency. But anyway, that's still a challenge. Yeah, but thanks for having me. It's been great talking to you, and it's brought some. It always brings clarity internally when you talk about stuff. You express your sort of feelings and thoughts and challenges. It helps you process them, I think. So it's been useful for me. I hope it's been interesting for you. I really enjoyed talking to you. Yeah, and if anybody wants to talk to me about these kind of things, just hit me up on LinkedIn or follow my agency, Brunborg and Brunborg on LinkedIn.